Let's get into our divisions here, starting off with the Kansas City Chiefs. And we just talked about JuJu Smith Schuster, and AJ, you brought up WNBA superstar Sky Moore. They got a lot of weapons there. We have been on this show many of times talking about who is going to be the guy. Who's going to be the number one wide receiver? Who's going to be the number two wide receiver? We obviously know Travis Kelce is going to get his, but let's put this to rest. Who is going to be the wide receiver 1, 2, and 3 on this team, Aaron? I know we just ranked everything for all of it. You had JuJu up top, but rank the rest of that team and let us know how fantasy owners should be looking at this wide receiver group.
I think what you're going to end up having happen is they're going to be closer than you expect. I think you're going to have a JuJu Smith Schuster who probably leads all the receivers in catches because of his target share outside of a Travis Kelce, the way he works the middle of the field, the short passing game, things like that. I think he'll lead the team in catches, but you're going to have guys like Mecole Hardman, Sky Moore, and Marquez Valdez-Scantling that get the bigger plays, that go have 5 catches, 140 yards in a game and a touchdown or something like that. I think it ends up being obviously Travis Kelce being the number one pass catcher with the Chiefs. But as far as receivers, it's JuJu Smith Schuster leading in fantasy points. A close number 2, in my opinion, is going to be Mecole Hardman. And then number 3, and I'm going to say it's going to be Sky Moore. And I know I'm leaving off Marquez Valdez-Scantling, and I'm going to say it again. He's played with the best quarterback, most talented quarterback we had seen perhaps since before Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen came in the NFL. And he never could get over the hump with a Devontae Adams on the other side. And now you're asking him to do more as a number 1 weapon or something. And I just don't think it's going to happen. He'll have his moments. He'll have his big plays, his 2-touchdown game or whatever, because it just unfolds that way. But on a consistent basis, I think you're going to see what you've seen over the past 4 years of his career, which is very inconsistent play, a lot of drops, and somebody that you just can't trust on a week-to-week basis. And for me, in an offense like Kansas City, when there's so many weapons, I don't think they need to be patient with them. I know they paid him, but I don't think they have to be patient and say, oh, we're going to go to you all the time because we've given you a 3-year deal. I think it's something he'll be on the field, but he might not get those looks. It's going to remind me a lot of – he doesn't play like him, but it's going to remind me a lot of a Demarcus Robinson when he was at Kansas City. Always on the field, but never got the ball. You know what I mean? Like he was always on the field, but never got the ball. So I think that's what we're going to see from an MVS.
I've been on the show many of times saying that I love the JuJu Smith-Schuster being the number 1 guy for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think he could be a wide receiver too. Like by season's end, he is going to be a wide receiver too, at least for this Kansas City Chiefs team, which obviously a very high-powered offense. But something you brought up there you had JuJu and then Mecole Hardman. And Mecole Hardman right now is being drafted as the wide receiver 62. That's well past MVS, who's wide receiver 57, and well past wide receiver 56 in Sky Moore. So those 2 guys are going back to back, Sky Moore and Marquez Valdez-Scantling back to back, and in like wide receiver in terms of the wide receiver value. But then there's Mecole Hardman, who you have as the number 2 wide receiver on this team, being drafted so late. It's criminal.
Well, first of all, like it's funny to me how we just assume a guy who hasn't produced, which Mecole Hardman has not been a consistent producer. But let's be honest, he played behind Tyreek Hill. And Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill were the main contributors. They were the guys that they were looking for. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Mecole Hardman right now is the starter in Kansas City, alongside of JuJu Smith Schuster and ahead of guys like Sky Moore. And I know Marquez Valdez-Scantling gets listed as a starter as well, but he plays on that outside where Demarcus Robinson used to play. Mecole Hardman has played with Patrick Mahomes the longest, knows the offense. There's no adjustment period. And I think that's the biggest thing here. To me, it's a trust factor. He's had big plays in big games for a team that's been to 4 straight AFC Championship games. Andy Reid likes him. Andy Reid believes in him. They've gone back to him even after he's made mistakes, and they haven't given up on him. That tells me enough that they see something in him. And let's not forget, he's still young. This is a guy that's not a very old. He's a young player still. I think this is his chance and this is his opportunity. Where if he doesn't do it this year, then you might start having that talk about, hey, maybe this guy just doesn't have it. But the dude's 23. Okay, he's 23 years old, and he had 700 yards last year on almost 60 catches as a number 3 or 4 option. So I think we need to be patient with that. We tend to get impatient with guys like that. But I think there's huge potential there, and I really like Mecole Hardman this year, especially where he's being drafted.
Yeah, it's hard to argue that with the value that he's going at. You're getting someone who has the potential to be your wide receiver, be the wide receiver 1 on one of the best offenses in the NFL, and you're getting him so late in drafts as the wide receiver 62. That's absurd. That's
probably not being drafted in some drafts. Like if you're only playing 2 wide receivers, you're probably not drafting them in some leagues, and that's a damn shame.
But do you see possibly with how high you are on him? Do you possibly see during training camp you start seeing more of his name being brought up and him being one of those players that really skyrockets up the draft boards? Because obviously we're talking ADP in June, so
preseason.
Yeah,
it would have to be seen in preseason.
Okay,
because people don't believe in Mecole Hardman now because they've wanted to for so long. But if you understand the Kansas City offense, it is not going to support 3 big-time pass catchers. It usually doesn't. This year, it might support 2 okay ones and Travis Kelce, but in the past, it's been Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. And those are the only 2 it's going to support. So, but this year, with it being so wide open, I do think you're going to run into a situation where you're probably getting 2 wide receiver 3s out of Kansas City and then Travis Kelce versus getting a wide receiver 1, Travis Kelce, and then a wide receiver 2 or 3. I just don't see that happening. I think it's spread around a lot more this year just based on the offense alone. And I think Mecole Hardman, again, just draft him. You're not going to have to take him early. Take him in the 13th, 14th, 15th round. Why would you not take that flyer? And I would say the same thing for a guy like Sky Moore. If you feel like he's going to be the one to excel, it might be him that overpasses the Mecole Hardman. But yeah, I just don't think – I think those guys have to be drafted in that offense this year because we just don't know.
Take your shot on whatever wide receiver you believe is going to be the guy in Kansas City. Where their ADP is, just go.
And I think you'll know quickly. I think you'll know quickly in the season, whether it's the first 3 or 4 weeks, you're gonna be like, you know what, I can drop him because it's gonna be this guy or something. I think you'll know fairly quickly.
So something that we didn't know. AJ, did you have anything on that? I didn't want to pass over you.
I can do it quickly. I mean, because I could go with a bunch of the stuff that he said because I liked a lot of it, and I think he's on for a lot of it. I also think there's a little bit that you can change. I think JuJu Smith Schuster is going to see a big uptick in touchdowns. I think he's going to be used a little bit more in the red zone. I have Sky Moore slightly ahead of Mecole. Not anything against Mecole because I agree with you. Like, it was hard to trust him when it was Tyreek. But now I agree that it's also going to be spread way more open. And I think that Patrick Mahomes is going to enjoy the opportunity to spread the ball a little bit more. Maybe keep Travis Kelce a little healthier as he gets older for an entire season. Not that, that's something we need to really, really worry about. But, after I think JuJu is a definite draft. And then I think you do just take your dart, though, on Sky or Mecole. And one of those guys is going to be the one that you're going to be getting your wide receiver 3 from. I think they both have potential to have a great season or a really, really good season.
So we're maybe coming to the conclusion that MVS is a stay away from guy,
he's your waiver wire watch.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. He's the waiver wire watch.
Yeah. My thing with MVS is because everyone's like, I mean, you're not doing much difference in the quarterback, but my thought process again is that Patrick Mahomes is going to be able to spread the ball a little more. I mean, you're talking about 160 targets that are freed up from a Tyreek Hill, and I get that it's going to go to a couple other places, but I mean, if MVS has his streaky games, if he can do it 2 games in a row, who's to say they don't try to give him the ball a little bit more often? So, but yeah, I think he would be the last that I draft at this point.
I can see it now. He's drafted week 3. He's on the waiver wire. He's picked up in week 6. In week 9, he's dropped. In week 13, he's picked up. And week 15, he's dropped. And
that's his career.
That's what I'm so used to seeing. I'm so used to seeing in fantasy that he's just in and out.
And he's not young. I mean, he's not old, but he's not the guy that's 23 on his third year. He's 27. Like, he's a little bit older. He's been in the league. He's had some opportunities. He came in late as a guy that was late, like 24 years old, starting in the NFL, when most guys are coming in at 21, 22, and 23 now. He was 24. He's 27, 28 now, and his best year was 690 yards, 33 catches. He's never had more than 38 catches with Aaron Rodgers. And as a starter, given more opportunity, he was passed up by Alan Lazard. Like, they gave him the opportunity to be the number 2 guy, and he couldn't do it. And now you expect him to go to KC and be the number 1?
Red flag alert. Red flag alert. Don't draft Marquez Valdez-Scantling. That's what we're saying here. Book it right there. You can pick him up on the waiver wire in week 3. Aaron, you brought up something, though, that kind of ties into my next point. You said that we'll know which wide receiver Kansas City goes with early on in the season based off of what we see. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, in his first game as the Kansas City Chiefs running back, had 4 goal line carries. Since then, he's gotten 6 goal line carries since then. And obviously, I'm trying to debunk this myth. Maybe I'm trying to get some deep analysis on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, because he seems to be a guy that no one knows what to do. I was a Clyde Edwards-Helaire owner last season, and I didn't know what the hell to do. Was he an RB2? Was he an RB3? Should I try and flex him? Should I try and trade him? What's his value right now? He's going as RB25, so he's just on the outside of an RB2. Currently an RB3. I want to know what the ceiling and the floor is for Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and if people should feel comfortable drafting him this year.
Yes. I mean, let's answer that second part first. Should you feel comfortable drafting him? Yes. I mean, you're not leaving a running back 2 flex play on just out there on waivers. You got to feel comfortable drafting him. But I think when you talk about potential, I think his potential it really depends on how Kansas City wants to approach that backfield. You talk about the goal line carries. I don't really pay much attention to that. This is the NFL. Guys are giving the ball to damn fullbacks. Kyle Juszczyk at the goal line. They gave him 4 that first game because they wanted him to get in the end zone. It just didn't work out. Since then, you got to remember, Kansas City runs a lot of Tyreek Hill jet sweeps, a lot of Travis Kelce at the goal line, lining up under center. I think this year is probably Clyde's best chance to be the breakout. And if he does not break out this year, I'm telling you right now, it's not going to happen. With no Tyreek Hill, that offense is forced to change. Defenses are going to play them more like they did last year, which means Kansas City is going to have to be patient and run the football. And I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire has to be a big part of that. I don't think you can take him out of that mix. 2021, he was running back 45. I thought obviously that was a big drop-off, but he did miss 7 games. 2020, he played in 13 games, only in 13 games, still missed 3 games, and he was RB22. So could he put up seasons like that again? Absolutely. And he hasn't scored many touchdowns. He only had 6 and 5 touchdowns in those 2 years. I think he's destined to have that, if not more, this year. I do like Clyde this year because I think people are down on him. I think it's one of those running backs that he's going to get dropped, and he's going to continue to drop in those later rounds. And you're going to look at him and you're going to go, how do I pass up on the starting running back for the Kansas City Chiefs, who I know are going to score a lot of points? And there's no Darrell Williams there this year, who they trusted heavily in that offense. It's Ronald Jones, who hasn't been known to be trusted. And I mean, he could end up doing something, but to start the year, I think it's going to be Clyde, and he'll have his chance. And as long as he stays healthy, I think if you're taking him in that flex, with that flex mindset or that possible get into the RB2 mindset, I think you're okay.
AJ, did you brought up Ronald Jones earlier when you were talking about we're ranking the running backs. You said insert Kansas City running back here. Do you think Ronald Jones is going to be a bigger part of this team to where he could take over for Clyde?
I don't think it's going that far. I think that he will be given his chance enough that if there's anything lingering with CEH, he'll get a bulk of the carries for a few games. I do think they'll try to run him in the passing game inside the red zone, inside the 30 yards towards a touchdown. I just don't think they brought him in just to hope and have a safety net if anything goes wrong. And then as well with that, the Jerick McKinnon factor as well. They brought him back. It wasn't just Jerick McKinnon sitting out there, let's go grab him. And somebody they have a rapport with, somebody they also trust. And when was healthy, can be pretty dangerous in the open field and missing tackles and things of that nature. There's about, for the last 3 seasons, 111, 112, and 112 targets in Kansas City went out to the running backs. Like that is collectively. That's something that I think is still going to play a factor. They don't run the ball as much as they would like to because you got Patrick Mahomes. So I think when it comes, I think that's the hindrance on Ronald Jones is if they are only passing the ball and CEH is doing well, you won't see as much as you expect to see of a Ronald Jones. But once they start getting leads and once they start wanting to pound the ball, I think you start seeing a little bit of a spell there for a Ronald Jones, bringing him in for CEH and the very small uses of Jerick McKinnon as well.
Let's play the game real quick. Aaron, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, AJ Dillon.
Ooh, you started off. As crazy as this may sound, man, you know what? I'm gonna slightly take AJ Dillon slightly.
Okay. AJ,
I think
you're
he's
on board with that.
I think Aaron Jones is going to be used heavily in the pass game and not so much in the run game this year. I think AJ Dillon is slightly better.
Okay. Clyde Edwards-Helaire or Miles Sanders?
Miles Sanders, but I'm a Miles Sanders guy, so I believe Miles Sanders could be legit.
He's going to have a great year.
Yeah.
Miles Sanders is fading because he didn't score a touchdown in the rushing game last year. That's not happening 2 seasons in a row.
Kareem Hunt or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
I will tell you, I'll take Clyde. I'm not a big Kareem Hunt guy.
I'd probably take Kareem.
All right.
I'd probably take Kareem.
Tony Pollard or Clyde Edwards-Helaire?
Clyde.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Clyde as well.
Okay. One last one: Damian Harris or Clyde?
Ooh, that's only tough because I don't know what they want to do anymore.
Don't know who the offensive coordinator is. Don't know who's calling the plays.
I would take Clyde.
I would too, because I know what he's going to get, at least in the passing game, and I don't think Damian Harrison is going to either. And I think Ramondre Stevenson is on the come up.